Check, check. Check one, check two.
Welcome to the We Are One channel. This is Todd Cave. Todd is a history buff. Interesting to get into all the Annunaki stuff, the historical patterns, religion. You guys know me. I'm just going to jump right into the conversation. So Todd, appreciate you joining me. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me, and happy to talk to your audience and to, share some knowledge if I can.
I'm sure you'll have plenty of things. I've heard you on the TinFoil Hat show, which was a great episode, and seeing you on a few other small podcasts as well. So that's awesome that you are open to talking to people, just to have the conversation as opposed to what it can do for you. So first of all, thank you for that. I want to talk about the Annunaki. So I know that your symbol, from looking at your other talks, is you have a symbol of the Kedusha staff.
That's correct.
On your shirt, that's part of your symbolism. So the Annunaki, is that the Kedusha staff? Is that part of the Annunaki story for you, or is that something that you've kind of adapted and well, we can say woven in there a little bit, or maybe you can explain that way. The Annunaki, can you give us a little brief story of that and how that impacted you? What impacted you about that story?
Okay, so when I was first coming into this this journal of information, and like I was said to you that I saw it on the YouTube channel, this guy was talking about that basically we are the prodigy of an extraterrestrial being, and I thought that was absolutely crazy. But he gave context, and he told you where to go and find this information. So you can find there things called Sumerian tablets, and these are written in the oldest writing system called cuneiform. And cuneiform was shared by the Babylonians, the Akkadians, the Sumerians, and the Chaldeans. And this writing system, basically, you have on a whole heap of tablets, clay tablets, that were found in Mesopotamia, which is in modern-day Iraq. And basically, these tablets document a time that goes back up to 450,000 years ago. And these tablets actually are about 3,200 to 3,400 BC. So they're about roughly 5,500 years ago. And as I said, that these tablets, they document events up to 450,000 years ago. And in these tablets, it talks about a group of deities called the Annuna gods, or as we call them, the Anunnaki, who appear to be what we call the fallen angels or the Nephilim in the Bible, or as in reference in the book of Enoch, the Nephilim, right? The watchers. So, sorry, in Nephilim in the Bible and the book of Enoch, the Nephilim. So when you look at these Sumerian tablets, it appears that these stories are the stories that predicated or were pre the Bible and all religious texts. So it looks like the stories that we have in our modern religious books are mere copies of these Sumerian tablet stories. And there's one tablet in particular that's very interesting, and it's called the Sumerian Kings List. And it has on the Sumerian Kings List, after the kingship descended from heaven, the kingship was in Eridu. Now, heaven really means the sky. And it is only us English speakers that have difficulty to understand that concept, because in Latin languages and in other languages in the world, heaven and sky are the same. So in Spanish, cielo is both heaven and sky, and in Portuguese, céu is both heaven and sky. But we have difficulty to understand that. So when we think of heaven, we're thinking of this etheric, mythical place where God is sitting on a throne with a white beard and a staff and judging humanity with vengeance, But that's
I already got like 10 questions, because if I let you keep going, I'm not going to remember any of them. All right, so I want to recap just slightly. So the Sumerian tablets, are those the emerald tablets of Thoth, or is that something different?
That's
the emerald tablets is different, correct?
Yes.
Okay, just want to make sure that's clear. Some people might think the tablets are the same. And then you mentioned from your research, your knowledge point, that the Sumerian tablets are, how old are they? 3,500 years old?
No, they're about 5,500 years old, circa,
Okay.
and they go back between 3,200 to 3,400 BC.
And how do they date those clay tablets? Just they're in cuneiform, so which is a language that can be interpreted relatively. I don't know.
No,
If
yes.
they can interpret it, but translation and transliteration are two different things. And we can have perspective on the English language when we both speak perfectly good English and have different perspectives. So I don't want to go there yet as far as how they're translated, because that's just the perspective difference that I've never seen them. I've never read them. I don't know cuneiform, but I ask a lot of questions. So first of all, I apologize in advance for interrupting you. I know people are going to roast me sometimes about interrupting people, but this isn't necessarily what I consider an interview. It's just a conversation. So I saw Sam interrupt you quite a bit of times, so I won't do it that many times, but I'll see what I can do. So the Sumerian tablets are about 5,500 years old, correct? And how did they translate them from cuneiform on these clay? How do they know? Because they just found them. When did they find them?
I think they found them in the 1800s, and there was a guy called George Smith that he translated it, and it was basically a code. So I think for memory, using the Rosetta Stone is what helped him to translate the cuneiform, because these languages of antiquity have certain characteristics, and he was able to go from all languages like Sanskrit to Egyptian hieroglyph, then able to and then even using Semitic languages like Aramaic. So George Smith is the one that cracked the code, and he was able to translate them, right? And today, now we have software that you can actually go, and there's the Oxford Library, I think it's called etscl.co.uk. You can go there and you can translate them. I think there's a website in the United States. I can't remember which university, but you can take the tablets and you can drop them into the translator and it will translate them. So we can translate them now because the code has been cracked.
But somebody wrote the code. I mean, the
code
George the algorithm is my point. I mean,
yes, George Smith, he decrypted the code, right, in the 1800s. So it was him that basically is responsible for, and he was a British guy as well, that was responsible for cracking the code.
How do you crack a code in a language that nobody has ever spoken or speaks? I mean, have you looked into that? You're a smart guy. I know you've had that question, some of these things that I'm going to say, because I mean, I've read all the dinosaur guys going at it, and I got a bone over here. And you're not quite as old as me. I mean, you're not super young, but when I was in high school, they had languages in my high school. I mean, it was a very good high school. We had 3 Rhodes Scholars in my high school in 1 year, so very good academically. We had Spanish, we had Latin, we had German, and I think there was another one. But interestingly enough, when I was growing up in that time frame, Latin was a dead language, and Latin is still a dead language, if I'm not mistaken. It's a derivative of English language, and there are derivatives in Greek and other languages that Latin precedes. My question is, because you're a history person and you know about the dissemination of languages and the Tower of Babel story, and I know you're familiar with a lot of these things of scattering people out and making us enemies of each other and trying to squash languages so we can't share stories and share how powerful we are. My question is, how deep have you looked into the guy who translated these tablets? Because I think that there's a lot of perspective and money involved in how they translate them.
That's a decent question, because today you always have to look at the integrity of a person and what's not. But from what I have researched, George Smith is the pioneer of cracking the code. And I have not found anyone out there that discredits what George Smith translated. And in fact, there are people today that teach Sumerian cuneiform. There are people, like my friend has a contact in Zurich, Switzerland, that actually teaches it. And from his research, he's not been able to say the quotation mark debunk George Smith. So the language, how they did it, that one I don't know. But what I do know is that you can actually go and look at these tablets now, and you can read stuff for yourself. Now,
Yep.
in terms of like how they did it, I'm not a linguist, so that
Sure.
part I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, we're just trying to put pieces together. And first of all, I doubt everything. I doubt every narrative that's ever been out there. And it seems like from your conversations, you doubt a lot as well. You're very discerning in how you view the things that are told to us and how we learn them. So thank you for that. First of all, it's hard to find people who just don't accept narratives and just keep running around. So that brings us to another narrative. Do you know who Jason Brashears is?
Is he like an Indian guy, dark guy?
No, he's a white guy from Texas. He has a YouTube channel called Archaics.
Okay, never heard of him.
And he's actually a brilliant historian. So I mean, I don't call people that too often. He regurgitates and recites books, ancient books, deciphers a lot of chronology. And his chronology, his number one chronology status, and he's an author, but he's not a historian, by quote unquote. So just to give you some context, his number one tenet is that the Shar is actually not a year; it's actually a day, and he comes up with tons of proofs that he does videos on, as well as other things. But his number one contention of history is that the Shar was not a year; it was a day. Have you heard that before?
I've heard that before, but I've not seen any information to confirm that is what it is.
I'll email you the information for him so you can look into it.
Okay, what I have found is that one Shar is 3,600 Earth years, and the way that the tablets are written, they describe it as 1 year from their planet, because they say that they're from a planet called Nibiru, right? Mm-hmm. And they say that the planet has an elliptical orbit, so it comes in and out. So this is the equivalent of what they're calling Planet X. So because it comes in and out and it's like an oval, it's not circular revolution, it's like an oval, and elliptical, that's the right word I was looking for. When it comes in, it also causes some instability for the planet Earth. So some of the cataclysms, some people are saying that is because of that. When it comes closer to Earth, it causes instability because of its elliptical revolution. So I have also seen references that the Shar may actually be longer, but there's the thing. There's so much information out there that it is any person that is going to tell you that this is verbatim the truth, 100,000% is lying to you. Because
they're not being truthful, right?
No, we were never there. We were not there 5,000 years ago. We were not there 450,000 years ago. All we're going off are records that we deem to have a lot of credibility. So anyone that says that this is it and it is the absolute truth is not being honest. Can the things that I say be false? They can be, if we get other information. Because, for example, they've not even excavated all of Göbekli Tepe, and Göbekli Tepe, minimum is 11,000 or 12,000 years ago, because it was actually covered in stone and gravel and dirt. And when they're excavating, it looks like it was just buried, right? And that would have been pre the Younger Dryas, which is 12,000 years ago. You have places.
There was potentially a mud flood about 7,000 years ago, but that's a whole nother topic as far as what could have covered it, how it could have got covered, why are they holding it, what the Vatican has. There's so many questions about what we're dealing with. And, I don't know where your focus has been, but my focus has largely told me, and as you can see from my self-described title, I'm a reality researcher, because this reality is crazy and it is simulated. Do you believe that? Have you looked into the holographic universe? And I know that you talk about energy and the double slit experiment and the observer effect. How do those things confound with your knowledge and your search and your journey?
What I understand is that basically this, what we call reality, is just like a dream, because I have had enough psychedelic experiences And I've also had downloads that made me even think that this is just a place that we come here, Earth, we come to play, experience a whole bunch of stuff, get some soul growth, and then we go back. And what I understand is that because everything is all energy, we are just aligning ourselves with the energy that is either positive or negative. It is literally that simple, right? Everything else in between is just the minutia that we give a lot of importance to. And I think that what we have to start to realize is that the we are on a journey here to wake ourselves up, right? Because from having psychedelic experiences, talking to people who have had contactee experiences, talking to people who've had near-death experiences, all of our stories have a lot of similarities in them, where this world that we live in is just a hologram. It is not really real, but because it feels real because of we're governed by our five senses, and then obviously when things happen to us, it feels real. But in the grand scheme of things, when you go to sleep and you connect back into source at that particular moment, you actually astral travel. And I have had experiences which have confirmed to me that we live in a multiverse. And I experience manifestation in ways that I've never had before, where I'm bringing future events that I want to take place in my life. I'm making them happen now. So I say all that to say that I think that here is just like it's just like a dream, just like that thing. What is goes merrily, 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 merrily. Life
Life
is
is
but
but
a
a
dream.
dream. Yep.
Yeah, and
So
that is
what
becoming
experiences?
more clear to me.
What experience? 1,000%, not even debatable in my reality. I can't speak for other people, but I've documented many things in my reality that it's like a code. Stuff disappears, stuff appears. Symbols have appeared and disappeared, and I've documented them. Something happened to me last week, but I don't want to be about me at this second. You mentioned, you just said that there are some things in your life that happened that you can't. I'm sorry, I missed the words, but basically that there were experiences you could not describe or you cannot explain. Can you share with us some of those?
Sure. So one of my experiences was when I first did the Bufo alvarius medicine, which is from the frog, and I actually saw the creation of my soul. So this was like when it was being created at the same time source was being created. So it was like because the thing is right is that one of the problems we have with conversations like this is that we bog ourselves down with words because people like, for example, very religious people use the word God, but I don't use God as much for the simple reason that it is quite limiting in what God is. God is really source, which is the creator, but is the creation itself, right? So the creation is actually God. I am God, you are God, the plants are God, the trees are God, the animals are God, everything is God. And when we start to understand that concept, because how I like to explain it is that source is like the ocean. If you go to the ocean, to the beach, and you take a cup and you take some water out of the ocean, the water in that cup is still the ocean. It has the same exact attributes. One, it is wet. It has the exact same saline content in it. It is colorless, right? It takes the shape of the container that it is in. It has the exact same attributes. So this is what we are. We are just fractals of source. So the water in the cup is a fractal of the whole, which is the ocean. And because it has the same attributes and properties, it means that the water in the cup is the ocean, it is the beach, it is the sea. We are all God. We're just fractals of God having individualized expression and expressing ourselves in our own unique way. So when they say that God is omnipresent and omnipotent, that is confirmation of that. Because how else would Source know everything about everything if it is not through us? Source knows everything through the animals, through the trees, through us, how we think, how we talk, how we act. We're all just one consciousness. So My experience that I saw the creation of my soul, and then also I saw one of my past lives. And it was a very, very, very surreal experience for me, where my shaman came over to work with me because I was having a little bit of difficulty. And when he like placed his hand on me and he placed like some stones on top of me and was trying to get me to breathe and to concentrate, then I just started speaking uncontrollably in Portuguese.
Wow.
Now, to give context, I am fluent in Portuguese, but the thing is now is that me becoming fluent in Portuguese is a story that is quite interesting because just to go off on the side to come back, I was trying to find work in Brazil because I was a civil engineer in England, and Brazil had just won the Olympics and the World Cup. So I was getting tired of England. I was a British citizen, and I was like, okay, let's go over there. So I started to learn Portuguese. Anyway, went there on holiday, came back because I didn't find a job because I thought I would just apply on websites and stuff like that and just being there in case someone called for an interview. Never happened. Anyway, fast forward a few years, and I met a girl on the bus, and I heard her speaking Portuguese, and I was like, okay, I want to learn Portuguese and improve it. So I started to talk to her, and we started to exchange languages. And then, long story short, she and I started to date, and I dated her for many years. So I was fluent in Portuguese prior to that experience. But there's something that I always felt when I was with her and her people, and even speaking Portuguese, I felt very at home. I felt very like, these are my people. I could never explain why. I even used to tell my mother that. And because of that, I don't call my mother mom anymore. I call her Mai, which is Portuguese for mom. So with that being said, when I was having the psychedelic experience and the shaman came to help me, and I started to speak uncontrollably in Portuguese, then the vision was shown to me that I was on a boat and I was traveling to and from Portugal, but I did not know in what capacity, right? And it was only a few years later that I fully connected with the past life when I heard a song, is a music called Fado, which is native to Portugal, and it's very melancholic and it's very nostalgic. And in Portuguese, we say saudades, which means longing for or longing, missing. And this one of the songs I heard triggered all the memories, right? So I say all that to say that when I was going out with her, I always felt like these are my people, but I could never explain why. And then the vision was shown to me and all the memories came back. I used to be a sailor. I was a Portuguese sailor, a marinheiro, right? So these are experiences that I can't explain. Like, I have no proof to say, well, Ken, this is 100% what it is, because I can't give you this book and tell you to go in this time machine and what's not. And I've also had experiences where I guess the only way I could call it is astral traveling, where I was in a gun battle. And this gun battle was, and this is when I was sleeping. So I was involved in a gun battle. And then I will never forget that I was behind like a column, and these people were trying to kill me. And there were some very, very high powerful weapons they were using, and chunks of the concrete column was being taken out. So I was covered in dust from the concrete, shattering. So anyway, I escaped them. I went from one column to the next. Every time I would listen and counting the bullets. So when they would go to reload, I would run and go to the next column. So anyway, when I got past there, I met other people that I had to fight hand-to-hand combat. And it was so real that when I woke up, my body was sore. It was physically hurting me from being in the fight, and also having the concrete being shattered again. It was like, like shell shock when I woke up. Now, this is one of the things that was confirmed to me, that we travel and there's something called a multiverse. There are different universes. So there are different versions of myself in other universes.
Do you believe you were tapping into another dimension or the Akashic records? Or, do you believe in the Akashic records, the Hall of Records?
I do.
You do? Yep. So is it possible do you think that you were tapping into a memory stored somewhere else, maybe outside of your consciousness? How do you envision how that, because you have to think about that, how does that work? At least I would. I mean, I definitely would.
But that is possible. But there's the thing, memories can also be other universes, because those are things that happened in a particular time. And if time is, because we look at time linearly, but in reality, time is multidimensional. So what that means is that there are different versions of you and different timelines all happening at the same time. And where you align your consciousness, your thoughts, and your energy will determine the outcome based on those things, because you'll be just tapping into a particular timeline, right? Because when you have these sort of experiences, you start to realize that time is, and reality isn't really what we think it is. Because I've had another psychedelic experience where I actually saw, but this always happening in my head, but I was seeing myself taking my hand and putting it in and out. And I could see my hand disappearing, part of it, and then coming back out. So it was like another dimension that was there that I could tap into if I wanted, right? And this seems to be how it works, because we can't explain a lot of these things. And I think that one of the things that limits us from advancing on a consciousness and spiritual level is that everything can't be explained. Some things can only be experienced, right? And we are looking, because I have got a friend as he's a truth seeker, but the problem is that if you are looking for all evidence, you will be searching for an eternity, because some things are etheric. And if it's etheric, it can't be explained, and it just is, right? I can't come and give you proof that the stuff that I'm telling you is absolutely real, right? Just like you can come and tell me your experiences, but there's the thing, you experienced it. So because you experienced it, it becomes real to you. And it's just like, you can give someone, you can buy a chocolate cake, and you could be sitting down and eating it in front of someone, and you're saying, "Oh, Ken, this cake is so nice," and you're just like, "Oh, okay,"
right?
But you're not eating it, right? So you don't have the experience of how it tastes, how good it tastes. Is very similar to this. Unless you have the experiences, you can't really connect to that thing. And when you start to understand that time and space is really the same thing, and that you actually are able to have the ability to bring future events to your present,
or physical things,
right? All through your intentions, right? Aligning yourself. There's no sort of evidence that you can bring to say that is real. Because you can't say, look, eat this pill and this can happen, right? That's something physical. Drink this drink and you can be able to do this. There are things that we just can't explain. And I think
do you think they have do you think that everything that happens has an explanation possible to find, or do you think that there's just some effects that have absolutely no cause? I don't mean that you can't find it. I mean that there isn't one.
I think that maybe at this stage in our evolution, it is above our pay grade that we can actually explain. Yeah. I think that there's probably celestial evidences or etheric evidences, but we're not in tune at that level that we can come and say, well, if you tap into this dimension, say this incantation, sit in this particular position, do that, then this thing will happen. I think that at where we are now in this third dimension, governed by five senses, I think that it's extremely difficult for us to be able to have 100% physical confirmation. Because I think that as it goes higher and higher and higher, it becomes less and less physical and becomes metaphysical and spiritual and energetic. And these are things that are invisible to our naked eye.
And the real question, I guess, is, and I know your answer, but this is what I think a lot of people who are looking for answers on YouTube or experiences, or people, they get stuck a lot on not so much what is going on, but what we can manipulate, what we can do with it. Are we powerful? Are we victims? And I think it's a mentality thing, because I have pages of stuff that happened to me that can't be explained. There's no cause. It was just an effect. I'm gonna tell you two stories because you haven't seen my channel before. One thing that woke me up, and I've documented some of this, and some of this has been taken off by AI or whatever simulated reality I'm in or that we're in or whatever. But I was going away for a trip with my family, and I bought I don't know, I'm trying to give you something to look at, but it's like a little cable box, right? And it was going to get some extra channels for my buddy. So I bought it from DH Gate, and just, giving it to him. So we're leaving at the door. I put it in a Publix bag on the counter and walk out the door. And so it's the last thing I did, clear as day. Jump in the car, headed out of town. My friend calls me the next day and says, "Hey, I'm at your house. I don't see it." I said, "I'm telling you, it was there 100%. I walked out of the house. Last thing that I did, I put it there." And I'm a very conscientious person. Like, I'm very habit oriented. When I lose something, the first thing I do is go, where would I put that? And 9 times out of 10, it's where I would have put it. So anyway, I said, I'll look when I get home. So I come home after 2 days. What's that? Oh yeah, it's your fan. I think you were showing me something. I come home after 2 days, and it's not where I put it. And I said, all right, well, my son's friend might have been access to the house. I was like, I don't want to jump to conclusions. Maybe he took it, maybe he moved it, whatever. I said, okay, let me reserve judgment. I made a big stink about it, Todd, like big stink, like talked about it for like days. I put it here. Where the hell is it? So 9 months passes, and I have my own business. Nobody's in the house. And I walk into the laundry room, and it's sitting there on my dryer, like clear as, I'm talking about clear as day. If I tell you that it freaked me out and made me question everything in my life, like I was already thinking a lot of simulated things. But when I tell you that that thing appeared out of absolutely freaking nowhere, like in the moment that I looked at it, it's just crazy. So things appear and reappear, bless you, for no reason that I've seen before. I made a video about that, about trying to see, with my family, asking them, before I told them I found it, I had them sit down and was like, listen, I'm freaked out. I don't know what the hell is going on or where this thing came from, but do you remember? And I asked them the whole story, regurgitated, I filmed it. And then my phone went into DOS mode about a few months after that and erased the footage. So like just crazy stuff. So I have a lot of stories like that things appear, reappear. Something happened last week was just as crazy almost. So I have an electric car. It's a Tesla. And I charged it with my wife last week, plugged it in. It goes to a range. So it's like a cell phone. If you can imagine, people charge your phone to 80%, let's say 80%. And then you use it, you put it by your nightstand. The next morning, you haven't charged it. The next morning, it says 95%. How are you going to relay that message to yourself? Like, there's no reason and cause for that. So that's what happened to my car. I charged it to 206 miles. My wife says, how far we got? I said 206 miles. We drive 5 miles to get my son, drive 5 more miles home, come back home. It sits in the garage. It's not charging. I can prove that part of it. 4 in the morning, I wake up and I have 20 more miles than I had charged the day before on my car. 4 in the morning. And I said, I'm sitting there like this. Like, it's not fucking possible. It's not possible. It's not how it works. So take a picture of that. Asked my wife, I said, do you remember how many miles? She said, yeah, 206, 207, around there, right? So I said, yeah, there's 216 miles on my car. I just drove 20 miles. It's not a recalibration thing. It's like a phone. So it goes just down. Anyway, these are things that just continually shift in my reality to make me just trying to give me nudges of understanding that this is not what we think it is. And that I don't know how to manipulate it per se. You just have to kind of like pay attention to those things, because I think there are messages from whatever else it could be. I don't know if you ever had anything like that happen to you, but again, I have like 2 pages of things that are unexplainable, things that have happened for no cause.
Yeah, I have seen things, dude. I have lost clothes in my own house, and I have moved house and still never found those clothes.
Mm,
So I
right.
have seen things that I just cannot explain, and I live alone, right? So
Yeah.
unless some sort of gremlin is coming in and
Somebody
out,
came in. Well, that's what
eh,
that's. Have you heard of Rocco's basilic?
no.
It's a theorem postulator. You can Google it later. I'm gonna put it up on the thing so people can look at it if they want to look at it. Rocco's basilic. I think it's that. If I misspell the last CK of it, but it's Rocco's basilic. If you put that in there into the internet, it's basically a theory that says in the future the AI will have taken over, and it has the ability, since this is a simulated environment, to retroactively come back in time and punish us now for the intentions of trying to limit them in the future. So it's basically saying little gremlins can mess with you and can do anything they want to you from the future because you are standing in the way of AI, some kind of tech taking over.
Listen, I am very open to saying that that is quite possible because I have seen things that I just can't explain, right? Like that in my house, right? And other things I've experienced, and I've heard people tell me things like I used to go out with this girl once, and she said that her daughter told her that she was abducted. So long story short, she thought that she was just like losing it. So they sent her to a psychiatrist and put her on pills and all that kind of stuff. Fast forward a few years, her daughter was sitting in the park at a park bench, and this guy just came and literally sat next to her, and he said to her, just so random, he didn't even say hello or nothing. He was like, "Oh, so they did stuff to you as well?" She looked at him like, "What?" She says, "Yeah, they took you into the spaceship and prodded you and did this and next thing." And she said her daughter just turned white because it was like, oh, and it was only then that she started to maybe even sort of believe that that happened to her daughter. Because how is it possible that a guy randomly come and sit next to you and start telling you, well, telling her things that happened to him, which coincide to what happened to her,
Right.
and her entire family thinks that she's crazy, and she got put on medication and stuff,
They shouldn't think that anymore.
thinking that she's gone local. You know what I
Right.
mean? So there are things that are in this world that we cannot explain. And I think it's simply a matter of that it's above our pay grade at the moment, where in terms of our consciousness and our perception of reality, we are not able to decipher this information because it is just a different light frequency because light is information.
Yep.
And at the moment, we are only seeing 0.00005% of all light. We are governed by the RPG spectrum. So it means then that when you think about it, we're like a fraction of a pinhead. That is what we can see in terms of the the entire
The light.
source of light. You know.
Yep. And it's all holographic anyway because our
Pretty
eyes are
much.
actually perceiving things upside down regardless. So
Yeah.
everything is an upside down hologram of your brain's interpreting it, but your brain has no ability to see outside. It's actually your brain or part of your eyes. So, what are your thoughts on how the psychedelic experiences work? First of all, what's the story of psychedelics with you? What was the first one you did? What made you do it? And then some of your stories, how you progressed. How do you find psychedelics now? So, can you talk about some of those things?
Sure. So after I had my surgery in 2017, things in my life got very hard. Every single thing that of value was taken away from me. Everything. And it felt like every so often I would get another uppercut, another disappointment, another blow, another low. It got to a point where I just thought I was going mad in terms of like, and what it did as well is that it started to make me question myself, my identity, who I believed I was, what I was, and all these kind of things. And 2018 was extremely hard. And what happened is that because remember I said that I got into cryptocurrency and stuff like that.
Yep.
And one of the guys that really was influential for that was a guy called Jeff Berwick, who has or had a channel on YouTube called The Dollar Vigilante. And he still is on BitChute and Rumble, and he has his own website and stuff. And he used to, he still does actually. He has a conference in Acapulco, Mexico called Anarchapulco. And when I was working, I always wanted to go to it, but I could never get the time off because I used to go home to Barbados to visit my family for Easter. And what would have happened is that would have clashed with my holiday and stuff. Anyway, because I wasn't working at the time in 2018, I remember him doing the promotion for 2019 in Acapulco, saying that you can get stuff like ayahuasca and stuff there. And he had mentioned ayahuasca in the past, and I did some reading upon it. And I was like, I don't know what this is going to do for me, if it will help or not. But what I do know is that where I was in my life, I knew I needed a change. I knew I needed to try something different. And I was desperate for help. And it was I couldn't find help in any other avenue in terms of like religion or going to a church or a mosque, or there was something inside of me that just felt broken. And I just couldn't explain because my whole identity was being eroded bit by bit by bit by bit, where everything that I thought was who I was coming crashing down. So I went to Anarchapulco in 2019. And one of the reasons why I went was because I needed a break from the UK. I knew that ayahuasca was going to be there, and I knew that I needed to be around like-minded people because these are all freedom-minded, cryptocurrency, precious metals type, non-paying tax people that don't want to stay involved in their lives. So I knew that there would be a lot of people that think like me there.
You just felt the calling. Felt the calling to go.
Absolutely, I felt a calling. And when I went there, it was just like an amazing atmosphere. There was about like 2,600 people there, amazing energy, just meeting people that you don't have to self-censor, who are not normies and everything. And I did ayahuasca there for the first time. Now, the truth is that the experience I had wasn't what I expected it to be because I only had a lot of purging. But the shaman that I had, when I went to the front and she sang Icarus over me, and basically Icarus are the songs that the Shipipo people they sing, and it helps with in your journey and where you are because they're energetic, right? And she said to me, I never forget what she said. She said after she sang, and she said, Todd, you have a very, very bright Christ consciousness light inside of you. And I was now coming into this sort of like information. So when she said that, I was like, okay, I kind of understand what you mean, but it didn't really resonate, like had like a real meaning. But I was like, okay, thank you very much. I do not know exactly how to process that right now, but okay. So then she said to me, Todd, it is so bright. And she says that all you need to do is keep walking on the path you're on. And she said that it is going to be a very hard path, but it is one that you can do. And she said to me, the energy that was holding you back, I am going to cut in the etheric realm for you. And it was actually on the same ankle that I had the surgery. It was like a shackle energetically on that ankle, and she severed the connection. And she said, it is your responsibility now to stay free of that energy that was holding you back. Because she says it can come back, but she told me exactly this is what you need to do. And it is up to you now to make sure that it doesn't come back. And basically it was from that point that I basically started my real spiritual awakening, because after that I did it in February, I came back to Mexico again and I did ayahuasca with the same shaman. in Tulum in I think it was end of June 2019. And wow, that was powerful. That was when I had the experience where my hand was going into the third realm and coming back out. And I saw that time and space are really one. And what I realized is that, I started to like have a whole heap of like experiences. When I say like experiences, now that I look back at them, they were very tough experiences, but they were preparing me for the path that I walk now, because the things that I experienced were so difficult internally that I am able to, because I'm an online fitness coach and I help spiritually inclined people burn fat and build muscle. And the experiences that I have had have allowed me to be the coach I am now, because when I talk to my clients, I have a very good idea quickly of where they're struggling and what they need to do and what is the cause. And a lot of times now, when I ask questions and they give me answers, I tell them, well, I think it's because of this. And they say, but how did you know that? The truth is that because I've been through the fire, right? So like I call it my refinement period. And so all the impurities, I can't say all, but a whole heap of the impurities were burnt out of me. And this is why I am able now to understand people's journeys a lot more than I did when I first started, because I didn't even really want to be a coach at the time as well. And that was one of the things that I saw through doing psychedelics, where I started to understand a little bit. And it was sort of like, on hindsight now, it's like this energy that has been guiding me, where it'd be like, I would always know when is the right time to go and do more medicine. I would always find this particular book to read, or talk to this particular person, or hear a particular podcast, or, something that would help me. Or when that same guy that had the YouTube channel, when he would release a video, it would be like such divine timing that I'd be like, that is what I needed at that particular time. And I've had so many moments like that. A lot of downs, a lot of ups, but a lot of downs. And then the psychedelics have shown me that pain is inevitable, but suffering is a choice.
Yes,
and
amen.
It has shown me that I was the cause of all of my suffering. But the other thing that I learned from psychedelics is that I used to spend too much time complaining about how things should be instead of accepting how things are. And the more time we spend talking about, thinking, complaining about how things should be, we're actually missing the opportunity on how to improve the things that are, right? When you see things how they are, it gives you great ability to make the changes that you need to make in order to attract the life, the wealth, the partner, the business, everything that you want in your life. So it was a very long and hard journey. And I started first with ayahuasca, and then I went to Bufo. I did some
What is that? Are these all mushroom? I'm sorry. I know ayahuasca is a blend. What is the second one you said? Are they? Can you tell us what they are as you
Sure.
described them?
So
I
ayahuasca.
want to get into the mushrooms too, but go ahead. Sorry.
Sure. So ayahuasca is made from two vines, and ayahuasca comes from the Shipibo language, which means the vine of life, or the life vine. And one of the vines has in, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. One of the vines has in the DMT, and the other vine has in what you call an inhibitor. So what that does is that it inhibits the stomach from absorbing the DMT, because your stomach would just absorb it and nothing would happen. So it allows the DMT to pass through the lining of the stomach and go into the bloodstream. So that's a plant.
And how long does that last? The ayahuasca experience, depending on how much you take, but how long would the average experience last?
I have had experiences where the whole trip was like 3 hours.
Okay.
I've had some powerful trips. I did ayahuasca in September, and wow, it was insane in terms of like
what was different?
the intensity.
Okay,
Right?
you took more, or just you felt like you were ready for more intensity?
I had like 4 cups in that night. So
Oh,
if
wow.
anyone is drunk ayahuasca, most people only drink 1 or 2. I had 4. And then like when I went back to my cabin, this is something that I learned, which I didn't know. So if you eat sugar after you've come down, you actually cause the trip to come back. So
okay.
What happened is after the trip everything was finished, I went back to my cabin and I was hungry. So I had an apple, and within 15 minutes, I was flying again.
Nice.
And that one was insane, but it was very, very deep and profound.
So what did you learn about that trip that was profound in September?
I learned.
Are they mostly emotions, or the things that you are telling yourself or your higher self is speaking to?
Well, in terms of ayahuasca on this particular one, this was my higher self that came in, and he was talking to me, and it was my own voice, and it was very visionary. So I saw back a lot of the events in my life, and basically he said to me, I said to myself, because it's really all the same, that all the things that I went through were preparing you to walk the path that you are now, especially with helping people, because a person, how should I put it? I don't want to necessarily call me a healer, but I guess in some way I do, because I help people get into shape, improve their mindset, and grow spiritually. And
well, you're an empath. I mean, empaths are going to heal regardless, and it's not a negative thing. It's like, if you're trying to seek enlightenment or you're trying to gain knowledge, I think we have this thing of I don't know what it is. Certain people have this negative thing about trying to put people down that are trying to describe something. So like, if you're a thoughtful person and you have discernment, if you say, I have a level of discernment that's pretty high, people go, oh, you ain't nothing, or whatever. So it's speak your truth, man. I think people will resonate with that.
Yeah, and I had to go through all of the darkest parts of my mind and myself in order to be able to help people, because I can understand where they are, right? And I was shown that I am definitely doing what I'm supposed to be doing, because I have my own podcast called The Conscious Man 7. And
is it on YouTube and Rumble, or just YouTube? Sorry.
YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, Odyssey, Spreaker, Amazon.
Awesome.
I'm all over the place, man. But the best place to find me is on Spreaker. And
how do you spell that? Spreaker?
Correct.
It's like speaker, but with an R.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the best.
Is that an app, or I've never heard of it?
Yeah, it's an app.
Okay.
You can listen to it on the web as well.
Okay.
So you can listen to me there. That's the best place, because I upload there, so there gets all of my content first. And I like there because I don't have censorship, because when you upload on YouTube, you get censorship, right? Like, I just got a strike on my channel for the mad thing.
You've been bad.
Dude, the mad thing about it, right, is that they accused me of vaccine misinformation. We didn't even talk about vaccines, bro. We were talking about conspiracy theories and Bohemian Grove and all that kind of stuff. We were talking about secret societies. We didn't talk about anything to do with jabs. So I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to be even more careful now.
Have you seen the YouTube parameters around that? You can say some things that are, factually speaking, you can back up. And I don't think that they fact check them, but you have the ability to say X happened to someone. You can't say this is bad general, or you can't say so, but the experience would be, as an example, hey, I have a friend here who took the jab and now had a heart attack, and that was a cause for that. That you can say an experience. That's the parameter. You can't say generally speaking what your thoughts are about something. Anyway, I didn't know if you heard that or not, but that's actually on the parameters. You can read it on YouTube.
Okay, interesting.
So if you phrase things that way, whether they're actually factual or not, you can get your message across that way.
Yeah, I will have to learn the jargon, because Yeah, but the thing is, right, is that we didn't even speak about that because I I made sure that I was when I checked, it was like, nah, we didn't even speak any about that stuff. So it was a bit controversial because we talk
Mhm.
about secret societies, but there was nothing to do with jabs. So I think it
Crazy.
was just like a shot because it was a bit probably too much over the target.
Mhm.
So that was that.
See, I
But
got a strike for somebody that was talking to said pandemic or something like, the word that they use instead of that, pandemic,
pandemic,
and I got an X for it. I'm like, what? Oh,
yeah,
you got to be kidding me.
yeah. So so from going forward, I would be mostly on the Freedom platform. So
Okay.
Rumble and Spreaker have all of my content, right?
Conscious Man 7. Okay, cool.
Yeah, but I upload to Spreaker first. So ayahuasca now is obviously a vine, and you drink it. Bufo alvarius comes from the Bufo alvarius frog in
Oh.
Mexico, and is basically the venom. So this frog, when you or try to attack it, or the frog gets scared or a bit anxious,
Mhm.
it produces a venom, a white liquid on its back.
You better
So what?
check your sources before you do all this stuff, man. You get that sounds dangerous.
No. But explain. So what it does now, if you were to ingest it, is deadly, but you
Okay.
smoke it. You smoke it. So what they do is that the shaman, they mark the frogs. So I don't know how they do it. Maybe they put like a mark or something in the back.
Sharpie.
So what they do is that when they catch the frog, they put the frog in like a bit of a crucifix,
Okay.
right? And what the frog does, because it's under stress, it produces the poison. And what they do is they just scrape off the poison off its back and then release it back into the well. And because it's liquid, what they do is that they dry it so it becomes crystallized. So if you see it, you're gonna think that it looks like crack or meth because you
Okay.
smoke it in a pipe the exact same way. But it is actually the strongest psychedelic that we have on
Frog
Earth.
crack.
Yes. It's
Frog
not,
crack. It
it's
came
not,
out the frog's crack, right?
well, I get where you're coming from, but
Maybe not. It could be also be the Kermit consciousness that we call that. That's the lingo. Kermit the frog. Kermit consciousness. Sorry, go ahead.
but it's powerful. So this one is a different derivative of DMT. It's called 5-MeO DMT,
Yep.
right? And it is the strongest. So it's
That's from a
literally like,
frog, or that's from
yes,
5-MeO
5-MeO DMT.
DMT.
Yeah.
Hmm.
There's also a plant version, but from what I understand, from what people said to me, the frog is more powerful than the
How
plant
many how
version.
many how many puffs did you take out of that frog?
So what you do is that you do it in terms of milligrams. It's measured in milligrams. So really, really small. So the maximum I've ever done is 7 milligrams, which is a hero's dose.
Okay.
Most people, if you're now starting, the shaman will probably give you like 0.3, 0.4. And for the average person, they can do probably 0.5, 0.55,
You
but
did 7 or 0.7?
0.7 milligrams.
Okay. So what was that
So,
like? What did you see?
oh mate,
What did you hear? What did you feel?
it was like a rocket ship.
How
So,
does your body feel on psychedelics? Do you feel your body, or do you like detach?
so each psychedelic has a different sort of experience. So with ayahuasca works with the sixth chakra, which is the pineal gland. So it's all visionary. 5-MeO DMT works with the heart chakra. So this is why they basically say that it fills you with unconditional love. And I can attest that it does do that. So it's very much feeling. So you do feel, obviously, with ayahuasca, but it's more visionary. With
Okay.
the bufo is more about the feeling you get. So you feel like an actual connection to source. You feel this connection to your environment and to the people around and stuff, right? Because it works with the heart chakra.
Hmm.
And what happens is that you start to travel within 10 to 15 seconds of smoking it. It is that fast and
Yeah, I
that
heard you
powerful.
count down.
And it lasts maximum 15 minutes. And as fast as you go up, it's as fast as you come down.
Hmm.
It's like a rocket ship, right?
Tell me about the pathway you go when you're shooting off like a rocket, because I've heard that's how they they describe it. You're shooting off like a rocket, like you can feel it coming. What exactly are you feeling? What exactly if you could put it in the words, or are you seeing? Are you feeling? Because you know it's coming, right? You can see it coming.
Yes, you can see it. So like obviously your eyes are closed, so you can see like waves. Like at least for me, every single time is like waves of. The thing is because your eyes are closed, it's not really light, but it's just like this
Colors.
sort of colors, but sort of like how like wind would be. But you're instead of you feeling the wind, it's like the wind is inside of you, right?
Hmm.
And you start to like, not that you come out of your body, but your body becomes immersed into
In the environment.
in the environment. So you start to feel like all the things going on, and then
You turn in the spirit.
basically
Okay. That's pretty cool.
and you in most of the time you hear a voice. My sister, she heard a voice. I heard a voice, and the voice is generally your own. In her case, it was her guides, and it was a group, and they spoke to her. And for me, it was my voice, because I remember I did one of the most profound ceremonies I had was in, I think it was 2022. Yeah, January 2022. I had just finished reading the Bhagavad Gita, and I had I had read that book called The Life and Teaching of the Master, the Far East. And I remember Krishna was talking about attachments, and that came up in the trip. And my higher self asked me, "So why do you continue to think of yourself in a negative way?" And I said to him, "I don't know." He said, "So what happens to you when you think about yourself negatively?" I says, "Well, I feel bad." He says, "Okay. And what happens after that?" I says, "I think more negatively about myself." And he says, "What happens after that?" I said, "Well, I feel even more, I feel worse about myself." He said, "Okay, that's interesting. So what happens after that?" I says, "Well, I think more negative about myself." And he says, "So what happens after that?" He says, "I feel even worse." So he said to me, "So why do you continue to think about yourself negatively?" And honestly, this was a conversation in my head
Yep.
with myself. And I said to him, "I don't know." And then that was when about 2 minutes later, I came back. And then when I sat up, my mate asked me, "So Todd, how was it?" I said, "I don't know." He says, "How you mean?" I says, "Dude, I do not know how to process what I just experienced, because it was like my higher self asking me questions, basically putting a mirror up figuratively in front of me and telling me, 'Look there.' And I'm looking, and I can't give explanations as to why I'm doing the things I'm doing." And it took me a few years to really, really like, for that to become true for me, because I have a saying. Well, actually, it's on my shirt, because this is like my Conscious Mind 7 shirt. I have that
That's awesome.
I have that in my store, and I also have another shirt that's called "Truth Isn't Learned, Truth is Realized." And that experience was one of the reasons why I put that on the shirt, because while I understood it, it didn't become true to me until I realized it. And that's the thing about truth. Truth isn't learned, truth is realized. And you can only realize truth. And then it was only like recently that I was like, I now realize the message I was trying to be told, or what I was told, I should say. And now I live it, where I do not think negatively about myself now. And anytime that I have a challenge, I actually tell myself, I know I can get through this. I have this knowing. So there's a difference between belief and knowing. And I used to have belief for certain things. Now I have knowing. And my knowing is that I can overcome every single challenge that I am faced. And when things don't work out in a particular way that I want, I don't complain about how they should be. I actually admit and accept how they are. And the mad thing about it is where I'm at now is that when things don't happen, I say to myself, okay, what can I learn from that? And what other opportunity is coming now for me in order to take another step forward in my journey? And since I've been looking at things like that, my entire paradigm has changed. I don't worry about friends, money, partner, this. I don't worry, man. Even who's going to be my next guest on my podcast, I don't worry about those things, because the less I worry, the better I feel. The better I feel, the better choices I make. The better choices I make, the better my life becomes.
That's right.
Right. So
I think
all
that's a great message.
all of this was shown to me from the medicine. The next medicine that I did was called peyote, and this is a cactus. So it has a mescaline. So it's a very different type of a psychedelic, where the way I describe it is like it comes in waves. So bufo and ayahuasca, you can't function under those. When I say you can't function, in the sense that you are forced to lie down and allow the medicine to show you what is happening, right? With peyote is a bit like the grandfather. So bufo is described as the father, very loving. The ayahuasca is described as a mother, so she can beat you and she can, be very, very stern with you. So this is why you purge a lot sometimes when you take the medicine. And peyote is like the grandfather. So the grandfather is more the one that will spoil you, be really, really nice to you, take you all these places, and you have such a different experience where it's done in a group setting, and you have like a fire. So yes, there's like certain protocols where you clean the energy and you eat the peyote, but it's very much of like a get together where people are singing, people are dancing, people are playing music, and then obviously it comes in waves. So 1 minute you're completely normal, and the next minute it comes in, and then you're not like completely out of yourself, but you can still have a conversation with people, you can still do things, but it comes in and it will show you around the room, figuratively show you certain things, and then it will go away. Then you will go and you will put some like offering into the fire. So it's generally done with a bonfire, and you will throw like rice or beans or peas or something to the fire. Basically, what you're doing is that as you're giving to the fire, it's like you're removing all of those things from yourself that you want to get rid of. So you're giving an offering to the fire, because the fire is purifying and cleansing. So you're giving sacrifice to the fire, right? And then what it is now is that because it's very impromptu and informal, you would get sometimes people that would just like start to speak, because it's like you're such in this communal environment that as the medicine comes into you now, you feel this, to speak, and you would just start speaking about your life and this and the next and the third. There's zero judgment. I've done ceremonies with women that were raped and abused, speaking about very, very emotional and personal stuff, right? And then when they finish, everyone would just hug them, and everybody be crying, you know what I mean? And then after that, we start singing, dancing, laughing. So it's a very different type of an experience,
That's peyote.
Yeah, that's peyote. And then the other one I've done was mushrooms, and that one is very different as well, where it's not as powerful as ayahuasca or peyote, but it is powerful at the same time. But I found that you can still function, have conversations and stuff with people, but if you're doing it in a ceremonial sort of environment, whether in a group of people or by yourself, it's very important to have the right ambience. So if you're doing it by yourself, I would suggest having on first, before you take it, set your intentions on what you would like to achieve, because the medicine has a consciousness. And what you're doing is that you're putting that intention into the universe. And then before you take it, you basically talk to the spirits. I mean, for some people that may not understand that, even if you want to pray to God, whatever is your means of trying to invoke energy inside of you, ask permission from the thing, the God, the deity, or the spirits to say, look, take me on this trip and show me what I need to see, right? Because you have to understand that you're entering the spirit world. So you have to give reverence and ask permission to the energy to say, look, show me. And one of the key things that you need to understand when you can do a hero's dose of mushrooms is you must be in a fasted state. So I prefer to do it in early in the morning because obviously when you sleep, you don't eat. But obviously you can take it any time of the day. And
how long does that last?
about 3-4 hours as well.
But are you functioning when you take a hero's dose, or you need to lay down as well?
I'm functioning. I tend to have a wide swing of emotions, and the birds sound just that crisper. The trees just look that much greener. Things just look that much brighter. But you get a lot of, like, for me, I get a lot of like emotions and memories come back from the past, and I'm shown a lot of stuff. So it's almost a combination between bufo and ayahuasca, where you get ranges of feelings and then you get a lot of visions. So I call it's a bit like a combination. So I've done those 4 before, and then I've even dabbled on LSD once. And that was interesting because I actually sat down in my room and I went into a very deep sort of like inspection. And I was looking at myself on like things that trigger me, things that I have done and said to people, which if I were honest to myself at the time, I was like, you know what, I could have done things differently because those may not have been the best things to say or the best things to do. So it definitely made me do a lot of inspection. So the man that I am today is very much as a result of taking so much medicine. And you don't, for people that we think, oh, this guy is just a junkie, what have he turned? But you don't want to take medicine every day. Is that profound of an experience that you just don't.
I've heard that before.
You only take it when you feel that you need to take it, or what will happen is that opportunities would just come about where you'd be ending up talking to someone and someone will say, hey, there's an ayahuasca ceremony coming up. And you're like, okay, you know what? Maybe I'll do it, right? And this is how it generally is for me. I would never want to take ayahuasca every weekend. Never, right? Because, man, honestly, it's tough, right? Because you're forced to look at yourself, right? And that is not the easiest thing to do. And I think that one of the reasons why humanity is in the state it is in is because we don't want to ask ourselves the right questions. We don't want to do inspection of ourselves. And we don't actually want to admit that, we've been fooled, we've been hoodwinked, and we need to do work on ourselves, because it is just easier and more comfortable to believe the lie than it is to actually admit that you've been lied to and to take action and do work to improve that situation, right? So this is why I speak openly about psychedelics. And I tell people that if you really want to level up your life, the first place to start is your physical health. Your physical health is the first place, because when you start to get into shape, it means that you have to change your mindset, because it is impossible to get into shape unless you change your mindset. Because you can go to the gym, you can do exercise, but your mindset is the thing that keeps you being consistent to keep going to the gym. Your mindset is the thing that helps you to not go and eat a lot of puka pies and gummies and pastries and cakes, right? Your mindset is the thing that you're going to go and train even if you don't feel like training. So you do the things that you have to do even if you don't feel like doing it. So this is why I say that training, getting into shape, has a knock-on effect on your mental state and also your spiritual state and and the evolution of your consciousness. Because the great spirit inside of you is not going to become visible and present in an unclean body. And a body is the vessel. Because don't forget, as what scripture says, the body is the temple of God, right? So if you want to take that literally, you're not going to realize your divinity if you're in a state of toxicity and negative vibration, because you can be all thinking the world is all doom and gloom. You can be drinking loads, doing a lot of drugs, partying, doing all manner of things. Those things don't uplift your energy, right? So when you and the thing is that as we become more and more in tune with source and we realize our divinity, you realize that the body is actually a vehicle to travel with.
It's a vessel.
So it's a vessel. You can actually spin your Merkaba inside of you and teleport and come in and out. This is what the masters do. But they would not be able to do that if the body is in a state of negativity and toxicity and you're consuming poison. So you want to level up your life, get into shape, right? This is going to help you to create new habits. This is going to help you to start to eat better. You're going to start to feel better about yourself. It means then that you're open to receiving other sets of information, because what is information? Information is light. You are a human being. Hue means light. You're a hue man, a light man. You have a light body, an energetic body. So you start filling yourself and your body with more light. Then what's going to happen is that after a while of increasing the amount of light coming into your body, you will start to wake up the great spirit inside of you, or you should start to get to connect to it more. You will start to have synchronicities. You will start to have, you're able to like attract and manifest, and you start to be able to like, just get new opportunities, get a new job, get a new partner, make more money, get a promotion, start a business. All of these things are going to come in because you start working on yourself, right? Because the body achieves what the mind believes, and your reality is based on perception, which is based on information received. So you are working simultaneously on your mind while getting the body in shape. And this is why I say that I help spiritually inclined people burn fat and build muscle. So, if anyone listening to this conversation, the stuff I say resonates with them, you can always hit me up on my Instagram at Adriano_246 or my name Todd Cave. And yeah, I would be glad to come and help you, because where we are now in our journey as a species is that we're at crossroads. And I'm going to say something now that is probably going to piss off half of the population in the United States. But I say this because I'm looking at the tea leaves. Everybody right now is putting all of their hopes into Donald Trump. Now, I will admit that he's a better candidate than the other candidate. However, Donald Trump is just a man. And he says, correct, he's not a savior. He says some good things, and he also says some things that are questionable. So I don't use a word like support, because support means you accept everything. And the way I said it is the way I mean it. There's some things I like that he says, other things I don't. Now, with that being said, what people have to be very careful is that the way things are being set up, the call that I'm going to make today, and this is, I don't know when this show comes out, so if it comes out, I might be very, very right or very wrong, but I think I'm going to be right.
Coming out quick, probably tomorrow or tonight.
So this is my prediction from looking at the tea leaves. He will be the president, right? And the reason I say that is that we are about to have the biggest economic collapse in our living memory. And because of that, he is going to get the blame for everything. And the other reason why I say that he's going to be allowed to win is that if the other side wins, the Republican side are less likely to try to start a civil war. Less likely. They would try to do things in the court and what's not. If the Democrats lose, they're more likely to activate their sleeper cells like Black Lives Matter, Antifa, etc., and they start the demolition of the United States.
They've already tried. Yep.
That will put the Republican side on the back foot and have to cause them to defend. And the mainstream media will paint Donald Trump as the reason why these people are in the street, destroying the street, and people will believe that, yes, this is a legitimate reason to create violence. But again, violence is violence, because no matter if it is from your God telling you to do this or a man telling you to do it.
You mean Deuteronomy is not verbatim? You can't rape and pillage. What do you mean? But God said we should.
You know what I'm saying, right? Like, and no, which God? This is the thing, no, right?
Do you believe in the Gnostic creation story?
It resonates with me.
Yeah, I think the Creator is not in charge of this world, which is the problem that we're sitting in. However, I do believe that we have a benefactor somewhere, and I think it's within all of us to activate that and change it for the better.
Yes, and this is why I'm telling people that regardless on the person who wins, the outcome that I see is that we are going to have an economic collapse because people don't really understand what is going on. Saudi Arabia has agreed to sell oil in other currencies. That's going to put massive pressure on the United States dollar. The United States has its power right now because of the dollar. The BRICS countries just had a summit with about 30 countries, and they all are going to start de-dollarizing. What that's going to do is that's going to cause massive hyperinflation in the United States and around the world because we live in a fiat currency system.
But if the economy falls, how can that cause massive inflation? It would mean nobody has any money, correct?
What it's going to do is that it will require more dollars to buy the same things that are existing because we have an economic collapse doesn't mean that food will disappear. It just means that you will have to have more zeros at the end, and we will turn into Zimbabwe, Venezuela, Argentina, and the Weimar Republic.
It needs to be the opposite of that. I'm not saying you're wrong. I don't want to see that. Obviously, nobody does. It needs to be the opposite. We need to go back to the old way where bread was $2, and a gallon of milk was $2, and not $7, $8. California needs to just go away, go somewhere else, do whatever they want to do. They can burn that place they want to. The rest of us can't follow that trap.
But this is why I'm saying to people, look, this is the time that you need to start to turn on the inside and don't worry about what's going on the outside, because what's going to happen, and I'm going to make another big call, is that we're going to soon start to get more and more drip feeding for extraterrestrial involvement in our lives, because what people don't realize is that all of these Anunnaki beings walked the earth before, according to these Sumerian tablets. They're saying that they will walk the earth again. And we do know that the religions were all created by them. And when they come back, because humans have a predisposition to worship powerful beings, because just look at cargo cults in the Pacific, right? To understand how humans are, a lot of people will end up worshiping these extraterrestrial gods because they're going to do things that are magnificent. So my point is that the way I'm seeing it is that he's going to win. Democrats are going to activate and try to not let him take over power, and they're going to try to start civil war. At the same time, we're going to have crypto just hit an all-time high today, right? Because I followed these things, and these are being taken in consideration because the BRICS are talking about using Bitcoin as a settlement layer to transact in between them. Okay, so what I'm saying is that we're being under attack on many different levels. So this time to work on yourself is now. Start to get yourself in shape, start to eat better, start to read books, start to work on your internal journey, overcome your fears and traumas, see if you can get things like psychedelics to help with that. And then also remember that the food that we have today is poison, right? Because what it does is that it makes you very, very weak. Because the lions don't go for the strong in the herd. It always targets the weak first. And these beings are like lions, they're predators. They make us sick and fat and depressed. And what it does is that it makes us easy energy
Target.
for them to, because all they're doing is they're sucking the energy from us and creating more bloodshed on the planet, more stress, more negativity. Because like Neo, sorry, not Neo, like Morpheus showed Neo in the Matrix movie, he just held up a battery and said, "This is what we are. We are energy." And
Where does
this is
that
what
come
they're
from?
doing.
Does that come from the tablets?
No,
Or does that come
basically,
from Zachariah Sitchin's?
no, it doesn't come from Zachariah Stitching. What it looks like is that the two brothers that wrote this, they were in tune to something, right? And the thing is that when you look at a lot of these movies like Star Trek and Star Wars and Prometheus, etc., Avatar, there has been a systematic approach to show us what is really going on, but tell us in the movies, so that they have plausible deniability to say it's just a movie, right? Because in reality, we all are God. And even this part is in the Sumerian tablets, and it says that if we allow these humans, and I'm paraphrasing, to progress further, then they would realize that they are greater than us. And it means that they would lose their host body slave system, right? So this is why we all are God. We all have the divine in us. And this part I take because of from when I was reading the Nag Hammadi and looking at even things like the Gospel of Thomas. When you look at the apocryphal of Adam and Eve, you know what I mean? Like even Pistis Sophia it makes much more sense that we have been led astray by not so benevolent beings for their satisfaction for slaves. And what has happened is that they have left their bloodlines in charge of this planet. And those bloodlines are controlling us. So they own everything. What people don't understand is that there are 13 families that own the entire system. And they're what we call the black nobility, or the polemic Saturnalian brotherhood, right? And you have families like the Aldobrandini, the Breckspear, the Samigli, the Orsini, the Medici, the Este. All these are families that no one knows about, all Italian banking families, and they pretty much own everything, lock, stock, and barrel. The system that they own is crumbling because they own the system, but yet still they're free thinkers in the world. And what's happening is that there are many neos popping up in the world now, right?
Mm-hmm.
All of us are becoming the neo, and we actually have to become the neo. Just like Yehoshua, he became the Christ, and he was trying to show us how to escape the matrix. But what they did is that they tricked us, changed Yehoshua's name to Jesus, created religion behind him, told us that he's God and that we should worship him. When Yehoshua was basically saying, look, do what I do, think like me, be like me, and you will get your freedom. That's all it is. He never come and said, hey, worship me, call me God. And what people don't realize is that he was called the Christ, right? His name was not Jesus Christ. It was Yehoshua the Christ, right?
You sure you never watched me talk before?
Well,
I've been talking about this for like the last 2 months. I'm like, Jesus was not his effing name. Nobody called him Jesus. Nobody. He wasn't even, the J didn't exist.
No, it didn't. So it was Yehoshua or Yeshua, or Yeshua, depending on how you want to pronounce it. But the long story short is that he came back here. He said, look, do this, do that, and then you would get freedom like me, and then you just leave this place. Because here's something that a lot of Christians don't understand. Yehoshua said, if they said I've returned and that I am here or over there, don't believe them. That is literally what he said. Yet still, there's a narrative that there's going to be a rapture. There's going to be Jesus, which is not his name, who's going to come back and save us all. And the Muslims believe that Yeshua is going to come back, break the cross, and kill all the pigs and kill all the Jews. That's what they believe, Seriously, they call him Isa. So they say that Isa is going to come back, break the cross, kill all the pigs, kill the Jews, and install a new kingdom.
What is the cross? Because on every medieval building, every old world building, what is that? What is the cross? Well, it was definitely repurposed, right? I mean, can we agree on that? It was the actual cross was repurposed architecture. Have you looked at that? I mean, what do you think the cross was? Because it was on every building. It's definitely a conductor of electricity. So what exactly? They stole that. They stole the cross, the symbol. Do you have a thought about what it was before they used it?
Yes. So the cross was used in antiquity, but it was more prevalent in the Egyptian times, and it was called the Ankh. And the Ankh represented both male and female, so it represented perfect balance. So the little loop at the top represented the womb, and then the vertical piece at the bottom represented the phallus. So it represented both male and female, so it was in perfect balance, right? What happened is that because, as I said, this comes out of the Ptolemaic Saturnalian Brotherhood, and they are very instrumental and influential in everything that happens in our world today. Because after these ancient civilizations fell, there were always battles between the Anunnaki gods for basically total control of this planet. So what they did is that they took a lot of good symbols and they made the Ankh completely masculine, right? So anyone that wants to search up for these families, they're called the Saturnalian Brotherhood or the 13 Zoroastrian bloodlines of the Illuminati, right?
Yep.
And what they did is that they changed the Ankh from being perfect balance with male and female into being only male. So this was one of the things that they did to make a patriarchal society. But before, we used to have both the patriarch and the matriarch existing at the same time because we had divine masculine and divine feminine. So what they've done is that they've oppressed the divine feminine because the divine feminine helps you to connect back with source. Because according to these ancient texts, the feminine is the teacher of consciousness, right? That was the feminine's role. Now, when they suppressed the divine feminine, converted a lot of these symbols, and they injected only masculine thinking, which is all left brain thinking, right? This is why there's a lot of allegory from Christ where he said, cast your nets on the right side of the ship, right? You need to have right thinking, right? And when they came to take Yeshua, I think it was Peter, from memory, chopped off the right ear on the soldier, and Christ put his ear back on, right? So all of these are allegories and symbols and signs to show us that he was always hinting that basically is all about balance, because Yahushua was both male and female in terms of energy and consciousness. This is why he could manifest, he could cure, he could heal, he could, do things like quotation marks magic, because he was perfectly balanced, right? So what happened is that these bloodline families, these Zoroastrian families, they have solar cult worship. And what they have done is that they used to worship the sun. And when you have the past and the equinox, where and all of this comes from Saturn worship as well. So
astrotheology.
Yeah, pretty much. So on the 22nd of December is when you have the winter equinox, and that is the last day where the sun
at the highest point.
The lowest point, the highest point in terms of the shortest day, and it takes 3 days. So on December 25th is when the new sun is quotation marks born, and that is a star alignment where the sun goes through the passing equinox. So at that time, you have the symbol of the cross, right, where the sun is in perfect alignment with the other 3 planets. So after the 25th is when the sun moves, and then this is where the days gradually become longer. So because they worship the sun, the whole thing about Christmas being on the 25th of December is solar cult worship, because the sun, quotation marks, used to die on that day and become resurrected on the 25th. There's also a Roman pagan festival called Saturnalia, which used to happen on the same day in Roman times. And this is a time where they used to drink, have orgy sex, and rape, do all kinds of heinous things, but it was just a festival of indulgence and basically debauchery, right? So all of those are things, because these are Saturn worship bloodlines and they control the planet, they injected all of this sort of consciousness and symbology into our religions, right? Because it's basically Saturn worship. And what they've done is that in the English language, they have tricked us, where they've done some bait and switch, where the S-O-N became the S-U-N. So we actually end up worshiping the sun, and that sun is basically the representation of the god of the star Saturn, which is known in Acts 7:43 as Remfran, and the Remfran is the representation of the god that the Israelites were worshiping in Babylon, because it says there that I can actually bring up the actual quote for you to be actually very specific, because you can find it in 2 places. It is Acts 7:43, and it says, "You took up the tent of Moloch and the star of your god Remfran, the images that you made to worship, and I will send you into exile from Babylon." This is being told to the Israelites, right? Or the Hebrews. Then the other one is Amos 5:26-27.
Moloch is the bull, correct?
Correct. And Moloch is actually Amun-Ra, and he's also Marduk, right? So Marduk, from my understanding, is the god of this world, and he is the one that controls everything.
The demiurge. Yep.
Yes, he is the demiurge, from what I have been researched. And it says here, "You took up the tabernacle of Moloch and the star of your god Remfran, the images that you made to worship him." So there's a certain group of people who shall remain nameless that have something called the Star of David, right? And those people don't know where that actually came from. But this is coming from the planet Saturn. It is Saturn worship. And there's a hexagram on top of Saturn, which looks exactly like that particular Star of David for a certain group of people who shall remain nameless. So what it is now is that
is that where the obelisk comes from?
Pardon?
Is that where the obelisk comes from? Is it obelisk 5-sided?
I think it's, I can't remember. I think it's 5-sided, possibly 5-sided. But the obelisk, it was just basically a power center, and these were put on top of the ley lines to harness power. The obelisks are not necessarily bad, but what they do is that they enhance the power. So you found in some of the places of importance. So what they're doing is that they're trying to reverse engineer the energy from the earth by magnifying the energy on the ley lines and injecting negative energy in it, which helps to propel the negative matrix that we live in.
And is that the opposite of a pyramid, the obelisk?
No, the obelisk does look like a pyramid at the top, but it just, I think.
So I don't know if you've seen these RMF meters, these radiation meters. There's TikTok videos of them. If you have a radiation meter, you can check where the frequencies are high, and if you actually put a pyramid shape stone next to that meter, it will shut it off.
Interesting.
So when you said the obelisks enhance, the pyramids shut down, and I'm not saying that I know that for a fact, but according to the videos, that's what it does. So it could be some way to either help us shut off the frequency matrix or repurpose.
Interesting. But the thing is that if the obelisk are being channeled with positive energy, it would change the entire dynamic of this planet because they're basically like magnifiers of the energy. So what we have now is that Moloch, Amun-Ra, Marduk, he is the god of the Talmudic Jews, right? And he loves child sacrifice, rape, murder, and pillage, right? And he is also known for the Aztecs as Huitzilopocatl, and he was also the sun god, and he was also the guy that was getting the Aztecs to take out the hearts of the people and all that kind of stuff. No, that's Huitzilopocatl.
Okay, so different. Got it.
Yeah. So if you search sun god Aztecs, it should come up Huit Zilopocatl or something like that.
Yep. Oh yeah, that's different. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to pronounce that.
Huitzilopocatl or something like that. Yeah, he's the sun god for the Aztecs. So you see same attributes, right? Sacrificing children to him and all that kind of stuff. So he's everywhere, man. He's a bad character. So he's the god that the Talmudic Jews worship, and then the normal Jews are more Enlilites, Nenerta and Yahweh, Jehovah, Enlil.
So I've asked this question a lot. Well, actually, I haven't had asked in a while, but Enlil and Enki. Any thoughts on which one was the good one, which one was the bad one, or they were both bad, or they were both
bad and evil? Both good and evil, right? So it doesn't matter which one you want to choose. They're all bad, my friend.
Yeah, I've seen things on both of them that it seems to be some contradiction on which one is worshipped positively and which one is not. But again, hard to find good information out there. I really wanted to talk a little bit about the name of Jesus and where it comes from and who created it and what's the first document or the first canonization of that religious name. Do you know where it comes from and when's the first? Because obviously, yeah, I mean, the word Jesus, not Yeshua, I'm referring to, and when it was implanted in the Christian religion, it's just interesting trying to find the origins of when it was inserted.
Yes, it's a very, very interesting story, and I have to make it brief because I literally have another show in a few minutes. But
this is just, guys, this is just part 1 of 75 that we're gonna do in the next month. No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah,
man, no problem, man. Because at the end of the day, there's so much that we didn't really cover.
Yep.
So, firstly, as we said before, Jesus is not the original name, and it was Yehoshua or Yeshua in the original Hebrew text. Now, the name and spelling was translated from language to language and filters down to the name we know today as Jesus. So because
we do that all the time. We translate names.
Yes, we translate names.
That makes sense. Yeah.
So it appears to have been a 4-step process to erase the official or orthodox Hebrew Yehoshua, which took nearly 1,600 years to evolve. So the first step is that they took the Hebrew capital Y, capital H, capital W, apostrophe, Shua, S-H-U-A, and abbreviated it in Aramaic. So what they did is that they took out the capital H and the capital W. So it became Y apostrophe Shua. So this is where the Yeshua comes from. So the Hebrew/Aramaic name was translated into Greek as Iseus, I-E-S-O-U-S.
And when was this? This was in Greek time. So is this BC or is this AD?
I'm not sure when exactly that happened, but we do know that the some of the Greek manuscripts have this spelling, and we know that some of the Bible is written in Greek. The Bible is written in Greek, Latin, and Aramaic Hebrew. So the Greek was transliterated into Eseus, right? And this Eseus is found in the 1611 King James Version of the Bible, which is IESUS. And the Latin was transliterated into English into Jesus, JESUS, right? So to clarify, the consonant form of the J was not known in the 14th century. Therefore, both the J and the I used the Y sound, as in the word yes. So in Greek, Eseus would be pronounced Yeseus. And in Latin, Isus will be pronounced Jesus. So in the 18th century, the letters J and I were split into a consonant and vowel, and the J was adopted as the consonant letter. Now, since the new consonant J was closer to the sound of the modern Y, the letter J was chosen in the translation of Jesus. This is why I say to people that the character that we know and we call today as Jesus never existed, and in fact is just an egregore. And this is just one of the many lies injected into religion to take us away from the truth that Yehoshua was an ascended master who became the Christ in order to teach us how to get back to source.
The letter J, according to Wikipedia and Google, wasn't even invented until 1524.
Exactly.
So how can you have a guy's name that's named Jesus?
This is the bitter pill for Christians to swallow, that they don't like to.
And everything is in a name. I mean, this is, and I was born Catholic. This is the everything about, divinity in his name. Through Jesus' name, we say amen. Through his name. Well, if that wasn't his name, then what the hell are we talking about?
Is a bait and switch, because think about it. If you had a time machine and you went back 2,000 years ago and you were walking, I say it
all the time, nobody would have called him Jesus. You'd have asked for Jesus, nobody would have known who the hell you were talking about.
They would say, we don't know who's that person, right?
But this is the Lord and Savior. This is the Lord of the earth, supposedly, right?
Yeah, supposedly.
In the name, I'm not disagrading, the figure or the origin of the religion. Just that it's been completely hijacked with the name.
Yeah. Definitely. So this is the thing that Christians need to be able to accept, understand, and just come to terms with, because look, everything we've been told is a lie. And this is why I tell people that the path of enlightenment or the path to self-development will all lead you back to one thing, and that's consciousness and spirituality. So the best way to start that journey, is get yourself in shape, because
it's called Todd. Email Todd. That's how you get it. That's how you find it.
Correct.
I need to find out more about the mushrooms though, and microdosing and supplementation. I would love to try that. I think my brain lights up on when I take kratom. So I don't know if that's bad for me or good for me. My brain feels great when I have it. I don't OD on it. Otherwise, your body will feel like doo-doo. And maybe I shouldn't be taking it in gummy form, but it certainly feels good.
Yeah, kratom is good. I take kratom as well.
Nice. I'm not the only one. I talk about it and I'm like, I'm not a junkie. I promise you. I don't take it for that reason at all. I just, I like to feel. When I first started taking it a couple of years ago, I told people it was an enlightenment potion. I used to shake it up in some Sunny Delight, which is probably horrible for what you're thinking of, like orange juice, with sugar and stuff. But the citric acids in the juice and the kratom tea leaves actually alchemically change it in something different. I believe it activates it. So I love that stuff. I think it's great. If I could find something else that made me feel that way, I would definitely entertain it. But like you, it called to me. You know, I bought it for a gas station that I was selling to, and I had never had any inkling to try anything like that. I've never done drugs in my entire life. I do drink occasionally, very rarely now, very rarely, but you know, I was pushed in that direction. So I tried it and I was like, what in the hell is this? This is like euphoric, but not in a way that, you know, kicks you out around, as you know.
Get you. Yeah, man. You just holler at me and I can hook you up with some magic mushrooms, man.
Yeah, man.
I
I definitely want to try some, but I've never tried any psychedelic. I've never tried anything like that. I've never tried weed. I took some gummies one time and probably was stupid for a couple days. But long story short, I definitely enjoyed the conversation, and we need to do it again because we didn't get to any of my questions. I did email you a list of the topic stuff, so maybe take a look if you get time. Let me know when you'll be free again. I'm usually just I'm booked on Monday and Wednesdays usually, but I'm pretty free other times. So
okay. All right, man. Yeah, we could do it again, man. Sure.
I'm gonna check out your podcast, guys. Check out his podcast on Spreaker. And anything else you wanted to plug before you take off?
Yeah, just say, look, people, this is the time now to start to work on yourself, to get yourself in shape. I help spiritually inclined people burn fat and build muscle. So if you want to, you know, start a spiritual journey, start it with going through the body. Hit me up on my Instagram at Adriano_246, or my name Todd Cave on Facebook. And if you're also interested in some magic mushrooms, hit me up at those same socials. And if you want to get a shirt like this, which is the logo for my Conscious Man 7 podcast, you know.
Nice. I like it.
Thanks, man. You can hit. I have a store on Amazon. The store name is called Todd and Me, and you can find t-shirts, tank tops, hoodies, and sweats. We got some cool designs there as well. And then if you like content and like the conversation we had today, check me out on Spreaker at the Conscious Man 7. And I got some great guests as well. I actually interviewing a lady who I had a conversation with last week, and she blew my mind. So we're gonna be speaking in a bit.
Is that only on Spreaker, or is that gonna be on YouTube too?
That one will be on it depends.
And is it live? Are they live or you record them?
I can record it today, so that will probably come out in probably like 10 days or so.
All right, guys. So download Spreaker, check it out.
Yeah, man. All my content goes there.
If you can send me information on email about what you just said about your store and Amazon and stuff, so I can put it in the notes.
Sure, I'll do that. I will send you my links to my Instagram, Facebook, store, and podcast and all that kind of stuff.
Awesome. I appreciate it. We're going 2 hours, probably could talk forever, but it's Act 1. Act 1 is cut scene.
Yeah, man. It was great.
Man, have a great night. I appreciate it. All right, take care.
You too, mate. Cheers. Bye.